Yo, what's good? Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you for making today's Eagles Now a part of your day, as there is a lot to get into this afternoon. We're going to talk Eagles news. We're going to talk Eagles rumors. We're going to do a deep dive on this Eagles roster, preview this game against Tampa Bay, and a lot of football analysis on the docket as well. And here is the Philadelphia Eagles Now rundown. Segment number 1, I'm going to explain how Howie Roseman did it again. Some great cost-controlled contracts for two players who have been so good for this team through 3 weeks. We also have some bad Eagles injury news, and a lot of you are probably stopping by for that. We will do a deep dive preview for this Eagles-Bucs game week 4 in Tampa. We're going to do a deep dive segment on Jalen Hurts as well, and how his turnovers and him putting the ball in harm's way is killing this Eagles offense. With all the talent that they have, the big plays that are there, the sky is the limit for this Philadelphia team, but Jalen Hurts has to solve his turnover problem. And then we'll dive into the latest Philadelphia Eagles trade buzz. It's Chase Sr., Jake Chipper here with you, and all of the Bird Gang. We have people rocking with us from every pocket of America and worldwide, and it's going to be a fun show here today. We're coming to you from Studio H in the Chat Sports Studios, but I have a question for all of you. Where are you watching from? Let us know down in the comment section, and we'll give you some shout-outs here on the show. Paul Ballard is in Virginia. Drew the Goat, Auburn, Alabama. Kinsler, Texas. David Gwanzin is in Cranford, New Jersey. Godfrey Wilson, Oklahoma. I was in Norman over the weekend for Oklahoma, Tennessee. That was a lot of fun. Eric Salinas is in Texas. Robert Alessandrini is in South Philly. I see Reno, Nevada, North Carolina, Portsmouth, Virginia, Charlotte, North Carolina. Blue Skies is in Pennsylvania, Newark, Delaware, Tampa, Florida, Borough, Ohio, Satellite Beach, Florida, Dallas, Syracuse, New York, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Hawaii, Bristol, Pennsylvania, Shenandoah. From Philly, Don. I used to work for WNEP, so shout out to the 570 and my guy Antonio, tuned in from San Antonio. Here's our Super Chat menu for today's show, by the way. We always like to be informative, insightful, but we also like to entertain, and we greatly appreciate any Super Chat that comes in. And all Super Chats today will get a shout-out. $10 will give you a Go Birds. $20 will do our Eagles chant. $50 Fly Eagles Fly, and you'll be a part of our September competition. The person who sends in the most $50 Super Chats throughout the month of September, we're giving you a customized Eagles jersey. And if we get $100 in total Super Chats, I'm doing a beer boot here on Eagles Now. So as you can see in the title, Justin, Philadelphia Eagles just got some bad news going into this game against the Buccaneers, and it's not ideal for Philadelphia to be limping going into this game against a Buccaneers team that's coming off a bad loss against Denver, and this is an Eagles team that's trying to find its footing after a massive season-changing upset win in New Orleans, one of the more hostile environments in the entire National Football League. A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, they were listed as could not participate in practice today. That is not good. Lane Johnson was doing some light stretching, but he's dealing with that concussion. So A.J. Brown might not play for the third consecutive game. DeVonta Smith, I would lean for him not playing, especially with the Eagles having a bye week next week with his concussion. Lane Johnson was so concussed, he was throwing up on the sideline against New Orleans, but he seems to be further along in the concussion protocol as compared to DeVonta Smith. So we could be looking at a receiving core for Philadelphia where Jahan Dotson is the number 1, Johnny Wilson is the number 2, and Paris Campbell is the number 3 because Britton Covey is also injured. As for Mekhi Becton, he has a broken bone in his hand. He does expect to play, but he's going to have to play with the club. I thought Tyler Steen and Fred Johnson filling in for Mekhi Becton and Lane Johnson played so well against the Saints. And it's so impressive considering that because they're operating on a silent count. It's so loud inside the Superdome. That is the Jeff Stoutland effect. And then Dallas Goedert was a non-participant in practice today as well. We're about to get the official show started, but I do have a challenge for everybody. If you're coming across the show for the first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Here on Eagles Now, we give you shows and sometimes multiple long-form shows every single day, year-round. We go live like we are right now. We go live for watch parties for every single Eagles game day, and every time I'm in front of this camera on this microphone, I aim to give you coverage that is insightful, entertaining, informative, thought-provoking, but it involves you. I want you to be a part of the show because you have a voice, because the word fan is short for fanatic, and we love all of the real ones. As you can see here to my right, we're closing in on 85,000 subscribers, just 119 people away, so you won't regret it if you hit that sub button. Also, a programming alert. We will be live, Eagles Buccaneers watch party, Sunday, week 4 in Tampa, Raymond James Stadium. The live coverage gets underway with an hour pregame show at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So be sure to subscribe and go Birds. And if you are ready to talk some Philadelphia Eagles, we have 4 segments coming up. Don't you dare go anywhere. It's the best Eagles coverage right here on YouTube. Well, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video if you want to talk some Eagles right now. We have 400 people watching live, 80 likes. The bosses just sent me a Slack message and said, you have this huge audience, yet you only have 80 likes? I thought Eagles fans went hard. I thought Eagles fans were loud and passionate. Let's shut them up because they don't know what we bring to the table as Philadelphians. And help me out. Hit that thumbs up icon. Like the video right now. It's Chase and Chip. We're ready to talk some Birds. If you're ready to talk some Birds, then like the video. It allows more people to find the stream. And with that, let's get the official show started right now as Eagles Now on this Wednesday, September 25th is officially underway. Yo, what's good? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. And no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, I greatly appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. There are so many great content creators out there on YouTube who talk about the Eagles every day. There are so many talented media members, television, radio, digital, who talk about this football team. So anytime you decide to come out and hang out with me here on Eagles Now, I greatly appreciate it. As for what we're getting into today, Howie Roseman, the Eagles general manager, he did it again. I want to take a look at 2 financially savvy moves that have proved to be great and impactful moves for the Philadelphia Eagles through 3 games during the 2024 campaign. And that ripple effect is going to put this Eagles team in a position to be successful, I believe, for plenty of years to come. Before we dive in, can we get to 85,000 subscribers before Sunday's game against Tampa Bay? As you can see here to my right, we're 119 people away from that number. We're the largest independently run Eagles channel right here on YouTube, and I always aim to give you coverage that's insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, that involves you because I want you to have a voice on this program. So hit that sub button for daily shows, live shows, and watch parties. Plenty of great content right here on the channel. So let's start off with this to really set the foundation for this segment. What makes Howie Roseman elite? And what makes him one of, if not the best general managers in the National Football League? No general manager, I don't think, understands the cap better. He's able to pull off salary cap gymnastics. He understands the nuances of the cap. He just understands it better than any other GM in the sport. And with that knowledge and a really good supporting cast around him, as the Eagles always have a very strong front office, and that's a credit to owner Jeffrey Lurie for the importance that he puts on building a great overall business from top to bottom. Howie Roseman is able to sign his players to really financially savvy deals that allows the Eagles to be a talented team, but a sustainable winner. Across the NFL, he has also fleeced teams in multiple trades over time. He's been able to stockpile draft picks. And this Eagles team right now has so much offensive talent. Of course, Howie Roseman does have some weaknesses. What are they? In my eyes, He struggled to build a quality defense consistently, although that defensive performance against the New Orleans Saints was spectacular during Week 3 in New Orleans. He has missed in the draft on defensive talent. I've been disappointed in Jordan Davis and Nolan Smith so far. It's not to say they're going to be busts. I think it's too early to say that. But over time, Howie Roseman has whiffed on defensive talent. I also don't agree with how he doesn't value linebackers. Like, how do you watch Fred Warner, the leadership that he brings San Francisco, how he plays with that wrecking ball mentality, and how he wreaks havoc from sideline to sideline, can cover multiple positions, and is in the head of opposing quarterbacks, and you don't value the linebacker spot? Now, if you want to talk about financially savvy moves, Zach Bond has worked out so far. Nakobe Dean is playing well as a former third-round pick, but over time, Howie Roseman's resume is his resume. He doesn't value linebackers, and while he stockpiles talent offensively, and it's an offensive era, and I do believe that the best offenses win, this Eagles defense has let them down. In the 2 Super Bowls that they've been to, and Howie has been the general manager in 2017 and in 2022, both of those games have been shootouts, and in 2022, Patrick Mahomes, the only incompletion that he had in that second half was a throwaway. And if the Eagles could have gotten a stop or a turnover, we're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles as 2-time Super Bowl champions. And if you win 2 rings from the span of 2017 to 2022, that's a dynastic run right there. Plenty of more to get to here on the show, but I do want to pop up today's poll question, and I want to hear from you down in the comment section. This will also be the pinned comment on today's Eagles Now, so if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, then scroll on down and let me know what you're thinking about this. Is Howie Roseman the best GM in the National Football League? Type yes, type no. Let me know in the comment section right now. Financially savvy deal number 1 that I want to discuss on today's show. The Reed Blankenship contract. This is a perfect example of Howie Roseman in Philadelphia having foresight and signing a player to a good deal early. Now, a lot of other teams across the NFL like to wait to pay their homegrown players and sign them to contract extensions, like the San Francisco 49ers, like other teams across the NFL. And the risk in doing that is that you're going to have to pay them more than top dollar because the market changes throughout that offseason. Whereas Howie Roseman likes to sign his players early in the offseason, but also early in general. And Reed Blankenship is an example of that. Philadelphia didn't need to sign him to a contract extension. They didn't need to give him guaranteed money, but they had some foresight here. They looked into the future, and they liked what they saw from Reed Blankenship. So they signed him to an extension through 2025. And if he ends up becoming one of the top safeties in the NFL, and this year he has been, wait to see what the numbers are, he's under contract the next 2 years, fully guaranteed money of just $3.9 million, and he was a UDFA. The raise goes up from $985,000. So for Reed Blankenship, it's a great upgrade as far as pay. But as an undrafted free agent, he's become an impact player and a starter, and he's only 25 years old. And Reed Blankenship has shown already this year with an interception of Jordan Love, the game-winning interception of Derek Carr, that he is a big-time playmaker. And since he's really been the starting safety for this team over the last couple of years, he has made some highly impactful game-changing plays. And this year, Reed Blankenship is the number 3 highest graded safety according to Pro Football Focus in the National Football League through 3 weeks going into week 4. Here's a look at that list as far as overall grades from PFF. Julian Love, number 1, 90.6 for the Seattle Seahawks. Brandon Jones, 90 flat. Reed Blankenship at 87.2. Elijah Molden at 84.3, and Tyrann Mathieu of the New Orleans Saints, who intercepted Jalen Hurts last week, 84.2. Now let's flip the page to the top coverage grades among safeties. Look who's number 1. Reed Blankenship at 86.7, ahead of Julian Love, ahead of Brandon Jones, ahead of Tyrann Mathieu, and ahead of Harrison Smith. And Mathieu, Harrison Smith, they're making a lot of coin, and Reed Blankenship guaranteed dollars, less than $4 million. So when you have a player who's playing this well, who's playing such an important role, who's making game-changing plays. He's young. He's a part of your stable core. That is great bang for your buck. And Blankenship, his all-around play has been really good this year. Overall grade of 87.2, as I said. That coverage grade of 86.7. He's allowing a passer rating when targeted of 57.9. So he's kind of been that ball hawk back there, but he can mix it up, get physical, and play in the box. 2 picks and 4 stops. And I know this offseason, we here on the show, yours truly talked about the safety position. And I was an advocate for the Eagles signing Justin Simmons because of the relative unknowns. With Reed Blankenship, with C.J. Gardner-Johnson and his injuries, I thought bringing in Justin Simmons would elevate this defense. By the way, he has played awesome football, him and Jesse Bates, as the safety tandem for Atlanta, so it still could have been a good move. But I also noted during those conversations that the Eagles may not pursue Justin Simmons and stand pat because they like the player that Blankenship can become. And as we know, they stood pat, and Blankenship's been balling out to start off the 2024 campaign. Coming up next here on the show, why the Saquon Barkley deal is also a steal for the Eagles. Saquon deal, a steal. That's a bar right there. First, if you want a Cooper DeJean shirt, get yours today. Available in Kelly Green and Black at chatsports.com/DeJean. We're going to start to see Cooper DeJean a little bit more. He's going to be this team's go-to punt returner with Britton Covey landing on IR with that broken bone in his shoulder. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. It's chatsports.com/DeJean. Let's next talk about Saquon Barkley here. Why the Saquon contract has already paid big dividends for Philadelphia, but how Howie Roseman's fingerprints were all over this deal. And when you look at the intricacies and the fine print of this contract, I think it's one of the top value deals in the NFL for the player that Saquon Barkley has been. So far through 3 weeks, Saquon is the NFL's leading rusher with 351 rushing yards. He's the first Eagles player ever with 351 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns during a 3-game span. And his rushing yards total, 351. That's the second best 3-game stretch in franchise history behind the great LaShawn McCoy, who will be inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame later this year. And in the first 3 games, Saquon has straight up been balling out against Green Bay, against Atlanta, and against New Orleans. I love the Louisiana leap inside the Superdome on that electrifying 65-yard touchdown run. But in week 1, he has one of the best debuts that any free agent acquisition could have. 24 carries, 109 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, 3 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 through the air on that dime ball from Jalen Hurts on the wheel route. Week 2 against Atlanta, I didn't think that Philadelphia ran the ball enough with Saquon Barkley. I thought they should have run it a little bit more because Atlanta couldn't stop the run, but still a good performance for him, albeit with that game-breaking drop, unfortunately. 22 carries, 95 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. And then against the New Orleans Saints, 8.5 yards per tote for Saquon Barkley, that massive touchdown and 2-point conversion, 17 carries, a $147. Giants fans in shambles. Eagles fans elated. We've all gotten over the drop against Atlanta, and this will also make you feel better because Saquon Barkley is a legitimate MVP candidate so far through 3 games going into week 4. And look at what the Eagles are paying him this year for this production. 2024 base salary, $1.375 million. He has a cap hit this year of less than $4 million. 2025 base, $1.17 million. A 2025 cap hit of $5.5 million. Pretty much what this is a 2-year contract worth $26 million, $13 million per year because the guaranteed money, $26 million. And even at $13 million average annual value for a player of this pedigree and this talent level, who's this dynamic, think about what some of these wide receivers are making. $30 to $35 million. Think about what Joe Burrow is making for the 0-3 Bengals. Think about these quarterbacks that are making 40, 50. Dak Prescott, $60 million per year. And you have Saquon Barkley with this base salary, these cap hits, and the guaranteed money at $13 mil the first 2 years. In business and in sports, It's all about what production you get for your investment. And the Eagles are getting great production from Reed Blankenship, great production from Saquon Barkley for quality investments from a business standpoint. And we had a sign that this was coming because for the first time in his career, Saquon Barkley is surrounded with a great complementary cast of weapons at quarterback, tight end, wide receiver. Most importantly, though, he's running behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and he hasn't had that luxury before. And he didn't have it with the New York Giants, who in the last 2 years, they were a putrid run-blocking offensive unit. The numbers don't lie. The New York Giants in run-block win percentage in 2023, 31st. In 2022, 26th. The Eagles, on the other hand, ranked first and second the last 2 years. The last 3 years, the Giants in run-block win percentage, 30th, 14th, 21st. The Eagles going into 2024, third, and fifth. And what has happened? Saquon Barkley has seen running lanes that he's never seen before in the NFL, and not since he was at Penn State. The big question, how many yards will Saquon Barkley rush for this year? I said prior to the year with one of my bold predictions, I think he's going to have a Christian McCaffrey impact, and he's going to have between 1,500 and 2,000 all-purpose yards. That's what I'm rolling with. The homie Potion, a $10 super chat, and then we'll get to segment number 2. Don't you dare go anywhere. Why would you? Just touched down in New York to watch the Pop Warner semifinals. I mean, the Midgets and Cowgirls game tomorrow, just to poison the crowd with this midnight green. Go Birds! I love that energy, Potion. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! I need one of those chants tomorrow for that Eagles-Cowboys game. And our super chat menu today, Go Birds! That's why I gave Potion that. You send in a 20. We're going to do our E-A-G-L-E-S chant. $50, we'll sing Fly, Eagles, Fly, or No One Likes Us. You let us know. And if we get to $100 in total super chats, I'm doing a beer boot. 3 beers, 1 boot. It's a wacky Wednesday, so let's get it popping. And with that, let's move forward to segment number 2. We're going to do a preview of this Eagles-Buccaneers game. And we're going to talk about a lot of injuries to some marquee players on this Eagles squad. And I imagine that's why a lot of you people are here rocking with us here on Eagles. Now, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm looking at what the people said as far as Saquon's rushing yards. Kyle said 1,500. Drizzy said 2K. William Sanders, 1,700. Cool Rains, Aussie. Oi, 1,600. Paul Ballard, 1,500. And Never Ever, talking about what we just talked about. He already has 350 in 3 games, and that's not considering the receiving yards that he also has under his belt. Alex Irvine, 1,400, and William Russell, 2,000. All right, let's move forward here to segment number 2. A great audience here, live on this Wednesday, September 25th. We're going to do the best preview that you're going to find on YouTube pertaining to this Eagles-Buccaneers game, and it's about to come your way right now. Dino Slayer, I'm from Philly, brother. Grew up in Westchester, went to Temple, started watching Eagles games when I was the ripe age of 4. We good, brother? Cool. Dennis Designs, big day for Johnny Wilson. Might have to be. He might be the Eagles wide receiver 2 on Sunday. That's not ideal. They're going to have to run it a lot. Dallas Goedert will be involved, and Kellen Moore's going to have to be in his bag, and Jalen Hurts going to have to play some good football. Alex Irvine, Jahan Dotson legacy game incoming. Yeah, he's going to step into his biggest role as an Eagle up to this point. Eagles forever think Saquon will put up 1,800 yards. Good stuff right there. When is a good time to get to the tailgate on Sunday in Tampa? Man, I would start early. I mean, it's a 1 o'clock Eastern game. I would start at like 9 a.m. Now, I don't know when the tailgate lots open in Tampa. They don't do it like Philadelphia. Like in Philly, people start tailgating at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Florida just isn't built like us. but I'd get after it early. It's also a pretty cool stadium, I think. Like, I've always liked the shooting of the cannon with the pirate ship in the one end zone, but Philadelphia has struggled on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh, if there's an Eagles 125, use that. Yeah. Use that. And then you can show the matchup graphic as a corresponding like betting odds. Yeah, so cool. Alex Irvine going to Eagles Jags in week 9. So stoked. Dude, how bad have the Jaguars looked? I mean, Trevor Lawrence just looks lost out there. And unfortunately, our guy, Dougie P, might not be the head coach long. All right, segment number 2 coming up. Week 4 preview, Eagles Bucs. Let's get after it. This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and coming your way, we are going to preview this Week 4 matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kickoff set for Sunday, September 29th in Tampa. Kickoff set for 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. The Philadelphia Eagles, 1-point road favorite. So this game, pretty much a pick'em, although some of the money leaning toward the Eagles, although they're very injured, and we'll talk about the injury report on today's show as Philadelphia is banged up with some marquee players not being able to practice midweek, and the over-under for this game at 44. This is obviously a rematch of the wild card round last year in Tampa when the Eagles got embarrassed after they lost 6 of their last 7 to round out the 2023 campaign. Philadelphia off to a 2-1 start. The Buccaneers off to a 2-1 start as well. A programming alert. Myself and producer Chip, we will be live for our Eagles Bucs watch party, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Wake up with us here on Eagles Now. Our pregame show will carry us into kickoff. And speaking of our watch parties, they've really started to take off the last 2 years, which I obviously love. It wouldn't be possible without all of you and all of the real ones. Week 1 against the Packers, 301,000 people tuned into the show. Against the Falcons, nearly 200,000 people were hanging out with us throughout the duration of the night. And against the New Orleans Saints, 114,000 views. It's the best place to experience an Eagles game day outside of being at the actual game. So we hope to see you on Sunday. Let's start off with this. The Eagles' schedule up to this point as a little bit of a refresher. We'll do the same thing for Tampa Bay. Eagles got off to a great start, beating a really legitimate team in the Green Bay Packers, who have since won 2 games in a row with Malik Willis as their starting quarterback. I think that goes to show how good of a roster Green Bay has. 34-29, and it was a clutch come-from-behind, facing adversity type of win for the Eagles, where they lost a turnover battle 3-1. Jalen Hurts had a couple of giveaways, but that late clutch drive was just tremendous. Week 2, Philadelphia should have won that game. They blew it. They choked. They pissed down their leg. 22-21 heartbreaker of a defeat to the Atlanta Falcons. But then, against another NFC South foe, the Eagles respond. And they respond in a big way. Once again, facing and overcoming adversity against the highest scoring offense in the NFL. They held them to 12 points in the New Orleans Saints. One of the top defenses in the NFL. Saquon Barkley ran wild. Dallas Goedert popped off. Jalen Hurts was clutch. A 15-12 win for Philadelphia. As for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they beat a solid Commanders team, and Jaden Daniels the other night on Monday Night Football had one of the best rookie primetime performances you will ever see from a rookie quarterback in the history of the NFL. He was tremendous. He had more touchdowns than he did incompletions. So for the Bucs to win that game 37-20, that was impressive. And then they went on the road against one of the top teams in the NFC, and they edged the Detroit Lions 20-16 as they really flummoxed that Lions offense and Jared Goff. But then mysteriously, the Bucs may be feeling themselves a little bit. They come back home, and against the 0-2 Denver Broncos, they lose and kind of got dominated 26-7. Now for Philadelphia, injuries are a concern at wide receiver. Injuries are a concern across the roster for the Eagles in this game. Philadelphia could be without A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Britton Covey is already not going to play. And as far as this Eagles injury report goes, during Wednesday's practice, A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith were listed as could not participate. So A.J. Brown might miss his third consecutive game with that hamstring injury. DeVonta Smith not really coming along well in the concussion protocol as compared to Lane Johnson because DeVonta Smith was not seen at practice. Lane Johnson was, and he was doing some light work on the side, doing some stretches. So that tells me he's further along in the NFL's concussion protocol. So we'll see if Lane Johnson is able to play. I thought Tyler Steen at right guard filling in for Mekhi Becton and Fred Johnson at right tackle filling in for Lane Johnson. They did a tremendous job considering the environment and the team that they were going up against. So the Eagles might have to call on them once again, and they're going to have to play well. Mekhi Becton does have a broken bone in his hand, so he has a little bit of a club, but he did say he expects to play against the Bucs. And then Dallas Goedert did not participate in practice on Wednesday. Not sure if that's maintenance, but obviously, since the Eagles are so light-handed at wide receiver, they need Dallas Goedert in this game after a career performance. 10 catches, a $170 against the Saints in Week 3. And let's go back to the Eagles' wide receiver position. So A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Britton Covey. If I were to guess right now, I kind of doubt that they don't play. So the Eagles' receivers for this game could look as such. Jahan Dotson was the wide receiver 3 to start the year. He could elevate to wide receiver 1. You wonder why I was talking about how the Eagles needed to trade for a wideout in the lead up to the year? For these types of reasons. So Jahan Dotson will be wide receiver 1. The Commanders drafted him to be that guy a couple of years ago. It hasn't necessarily translated, but he's pretty good going in and out of his cuts and has good hands, and he has 12 touchdowns the last 2 years. The rookie Johnny Wilson would then elevate to wide receiver 2 in this scenario. Paris Campbell would get elevated from the practice squad once again. He'll be the wide receiver 3. And then you have 2 practice squad options. Danny Gray, 4-3 guy, but is always injured and he's slight and small. He could get elevated to the active game day roster. And then the Eagles signed John Ross, who was with this team during training camp. They signed him to the practice squad this week. So point here being, not really looking good for the Eagles at that wide receiver position. So Kellen Moore is going to have to be in his bag. Jalen Hurts is going to have to carry this offense and play like an MVP. And then Philadelphia will need to run block and pass block. And Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert will probably have to star once again. It's the next man up mentality for Philadelphia here in Week 4. Prediction time. Who you got in this ball game? Are you going with the Eagles to win their second consecutive game? Are you going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Let me know down in the comments section. I'll share my prediction a little bit later. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down, get those predictions in. Let's talk about quarterback Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts' performance to start the 2024 season has been up and down, but I'm going to take a look at some of the positives here. In particular, one of them. He has fixed one of his biggest issues as a quarterback, and that's handling the blitz. Without Jason Kelce, he has more control at the line of scrimmage. And against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here in Week 4, what are the Bucs going to do with Todd Bowles? They are going to blitz Jalen Hurts, and they're going to blitz him a lot, especially knowing that he struggled against the Buccaneers and against the blitz in general, and because the Eagles are light-handed at that wide receiver spot. And the Bucs dominated Philadelphia last year, and they had a strategy. Blitz Jalen Hurts on passing downs. And this is an area where Hurts really struggled last year. He had 268 dropbacks against the blitz in 2023. He only completed 63% of his passes. His yards per attempt, 6.9, and he had a 6.3 sack rate. So far this year, 38 dropbacks against the blitz. Look at how much his numbers have increased. Completion percentage, up to 72.7%. Yards per attempt, up to 7.2. And his sack rate has gone down to 5.2. Couple of reasons for this. Pre-snap motion. The Eagles have answers against the blitz with some hots and some checks. And Jalen Hurts has taken more of an onus with having control at the line of scrimmage, but he's done a better job of identifying where the blitz is coming from. In his 4 games against Tampa Bay in his career, Hurts has just completed 59% of his passes. He has been sacked 8 times with 5 picks and 4 touchdowns. And knowing that that sample size is there, and knowing that Hurts has struggled against this specific Todd Bowles defense, Todd Bowles is going to be relentless with sending pressure to see if Jalen Hurts can respond and to see if him and Kellen Moore have an answer. As for the Buccaneers' strengths, Baker Mayfield has really turned it around. And since the midway point of last year, he's been a borderline top 10, top 13 quarterback in the NFL. He has his confidence back. He is a player who has always had some swagger, but he lost that during the end of his tenure with the Cleveland Browns, and then he was with Carolina, he was with the Rams. He has recaptured that type of swagger with Tampa Bay. He's the franchise guy, and they paid him as such this offseason, coming off a really good year last year. The Bucs also have a good defense, and as I noted, they are going to blitz a lot. In the secondary, very sound, very well coached, led by Antoine Winfield, who is a terrific young safety in this league. Their wide receiver tandem is and has been one of the better wide receiver duos in the NFL with Mike Evans. Every year he's been in the league. We're going on a decade now. He's had more than 1,000 receiving yards. The consistency there is unbelievable. And then Chris Godwin, the Penn State product, who a lot of you probably know of and are familiar with, a really good wide receiver too. And let's not take this Buccaneers team lightly. Like, they beat a quality Washington team week 1. That game wasn't close. And then week 2, they went on the road and they thumped Detroit. And defensively, they played awesome. The Bucs' weaknesses, they are susceptible to giving up chunks of yardage on the ground. And they're giving up 4.9 yards per carry. And going into that wild card game last year, what did I say for Philadelphia? The pass game ain't working. This passing offense is vanilla. It's predictable. Teams were calling out what they were doing. And last year, the Bucs couldn't stop the run. So I kept saying in the preview and in the lead up to that game, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. What did Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni do? They passed the ball too much. Missed opportunity. This year, though, especially with the injuries at wideout, I expect Philadelphia to run it a lot to see if the Bucs can stop them. Because Tampa Bay, in addition to the yards per carry, giving up 137.7 rushing yards per game. They also have a weakness at right tackle. Luke Goedert, coming out of concussion protocol. He is expected to play, but if he can't, Justin School is their backup right tackle. He's not any good, so keep an eye on that. And this is also a bad tackling team. So picking up yards after the catch, breaking tackles in the ground game, going to be a point of emphasis this week in the preparations for Philadelphia. If you want to bet on this game, no other sports book to do it with than our friends at BetUS. Head to chatsports.com/EaglesBet, and you get a 125% deposit bonus if you use the promo code EAGLES125. That means if you put down $100, you get $125 back. That's $225 to game with. Philadelphia in this game, -1. It's pretty much a pick 'em. So if you like the Eagles to win this game, or you like that over-under at 44 even, you can bet on this game, and make sure you do it with our friends at BetUS. They've got your game. Chatsports.com/EaglesBet. Promo code EAGLES125. Let's next go to my keys to the game for Philadelphia. This is how the Philadelphia Eagles can beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to move their record to 3-1 going into the bye week. Key to the game number 1, Jalen Hurts has to be able to handle the Todd Bowles blitz packages. Jalen Hurts throughout his career is 1-3 against Todd Bowles and the Bucs. Bowles has blitzed Hurts on 81 of his 138 dropbacks in those 4 games, and Hurts has not fared well against those Bowles blitz pressures. He is 52 of 85 for 4 touchdowns and 4 picks, in addition to 4 sacks against pressure when facing Todd Bowles and Tampa Bay. Now, Jalen Hurts has made dramatic improvements in how he performs against the blitz year over year, from last year when it was a huge weakness to this year when it's actually become a strength of Jalen Hurts' game. And I think there are a couple of reasons for that. In years prior, it was Jason Kelce who was really making all of the calls and the checks at the line of scrimmage. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I think that quarterbacks like to be in control. And for Hurts not be able to do that, I think that hurt him a little bit. But with this offense, the pre-snap motion Jalen Hurts is able to identify if the defense is playing man or zone. And he's already talked about how that has benefited him and this Eagles offense this year. But this year, there are safety valves. There are checks. There are hots. There are blitz beaters. Whereas last year, the Eagles were ill-prepared against the blitz. And that's why Jalen Hurts really struggled mightily last year against the blitz as compared to this year against the blitz. And we've been showing you those numbers here on your screen. In 4 games against Tampa Bay, Hurts has completed only 59% of his passes, well below his career average, and he's been sacked 8 times with 5 picks and 4 touchdown passes. So in general, he has struggled against Tampa Bay, and against the blitz, he's had no answers, and this Eagles offense has had no answers. Key to the game number 2, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers struggle in stopping the run. One of the strengths of this Eagles team, running the football. They have a top 5 offensive line, and as the game progresses and wears on, the Eagles offensive line gets stronger, and they wear down their opponent. The Buccaneers are giving up nearly 5 yards per carry and nearly 140 rushing yards per game. So Kellen Moore, you might be without A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith. You're already without Britton Covey. Run it with Saquon Barkley. Get Kenneth Gainwell involved. He's a good backup running back. Maybe we sprinkle in Will Shipley from time to time, and you get creative with him in the backfield, him out of the slot. Saquon to start this year has been balling. An MVP candidate. He leads the NFL in rushing yards. He's off to a historic start when you look at how his first 3 games compare to all running backs in the history of this organization. 24 carries for a $109 against Green Bay. 22 carries, 95 yards against the Falcons. 17 carries, a $147, 8.5 yards per tote against the New Orleans Saints. This Eagles offensive line is a strength. This Buccaneers run defense is a weakness. Philadelphia has to exploit that weakness. Key to the game number 3. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles have to stop turning the football over. It makes all of us want to pull our hair out. It has become maddening. It makes games very stressful. We see the potential that Philadelphia has as an offense, but they shoot themselves in the foot time and time again with dumb penalties, but with turning the rock over, giving the opposition momentum, giving the opposition opportunities, and it starts and ends with Jalen Hurts because there is a turnover problem here. And you look year by year with how much Hurts has turned the ball over, especially of late, it's not good. In 2020, when he took over for Carson Wentz, 4 starts, including when he came in for that Green Bay game, 6 turnovers in 4 games. In 2021, 13 turnovers in 16 games. 2022, the best year of his career, when he was an MVP runner-up and probably would have won it if he didn't hurt his shoulder in Chicago late in the year. Only 9 turnovers in 18 games. So he can get back to that. I'm a believer. But in 2023, 20 turnovers in 18 games. And here in 2024, 5 already in 3 games. In totality, that is 53 turnovers in 59 games. And it goes without saying, but that is not a sustainable way to play football. And when you're the quarterback, one of your key jobs is to keep the ball out of harm's way. Hurts hasn't done that. Now, some of the picks aren't on him. Some of the fumbles aren't on him. But he's also played reckless football, and he has to clean it up. Because if the Eagles do, they are a locomotive going down the train tracks with momentum. And there aren't a lot of teams who are equipped defensively to stop this Eagles team with this much firepower because there's a plethora of it. Key to the game number 4. The Eagles, once again, have to get Dallas Goedert involved. A lot of people forgot that Dallas Goedert is one of the top all-around tight ends in the NFL. And this is a shout-out to Jalen Hurts for looking his way. He was kind of forced into doing that without A.J. Brown, without Britton Covey, without DeVonta Smith for some of that game after that dirty hit and concussion that he suffered. It's on Kellen Moore for calling pass plays for Dallas Goedert. The game-winning 60-plus yarder was a great rub route and design where Jahan Dotson made a couple of Saints players run into one another, and then Jalen Hurts knew where the pressure was coming from, over the middle, dumped it off, and then Dallas Goedert was chugging downfield. I loved what Jordan Mailata had to say when he was mic'd up too. Lose the Trailomite! Lose the Trailomite! It was just fantastic. But to see Dallas Goedert have that game, I think it showed the Eagles the weapon that he is, and it gave Dallas Goedert some confidence because he's really been up and down of late from last year, carrying over into the first 2 games this year, a career-high 10 catches for 170 yards. He's a weapon, so Philadelphia has to use him. And then key to the game number 5, this Eagles defense has to bring it again. Jalen Carter, I want to see you continue to be a dominant player. He had an Aaron Donald-like performance. And if he can play like that week in and week out, he can change the tune, change the tide, change the complexion of this Eagles defense. He can be one of the most dominant players in the NFL. Jordan Davis, you are 6'6", 340. You finally used that size to your advantage against New Orleans. Brandon Graham, he's been playing great all year, but he especially brought it against the Saints. Josh Sweat, able to get after the quarterback. Bryce Huff, he set the edge on a running play. Nolan Smith did the same. Zach Bond to Kobe Dean playing well. Quinyon Mitchell looking like an all-rookie defensive first-team member. Darius Slay was really good as well in locking down Rashid Shaheed. Reed Blankenship with the game-icing interception, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson with that swagger. This Eagles defense made monumental strides from the first 2 weeks to week 3. Show me that this is the defense that you can become, and I want to see you shut down this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. If the Eagles are able to win this game, imagine the vibes for us, for the team, being at 3-1, going into the bye week with Cleveland on the other side, and I don't think Cleveland's all that good, and they have to come to Philadelphia. And I think if the Eagles are able to massage that game out against the Browns and Deshaun Watson, that can really set themselves up to have success for the rest of the year. Predict the score. Eagles, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who you got? Let me know down in the comment section. Here's my prediction. The Eagles are 1-point favorites. I actually think they win by 1. I don't think it's a high-scoring affair. Give me the Birds, 24-23. All right. Who do the people have? Let us know. Oh, we have some Eagles and Cowboys fans beefing in the chat. That's always fun. Carol Hosey said Birds, 24-21. Did nobody get the Deshaun Watson joke at the end of that? I said, I think that if the Eagles can massage that game out against the Browns and Deshaun Watson, it can set themselves up for the rest of the year. Nobody got it. I don't see anybody saying anything. Chip just had his eyes in the computer. That was it. He was locked in. Locked in, baby. Kyle, Chase, do you think Cooper DeJean could return punts in the Bucs game? Yeah, I think he's next up. I think he's next up as far as being this team's punt returner. I do. Carol Hosey got it. Cool Rains got it. Good stuff. Good stuff. I knew that you guys would get it. She didn't know? She was just clueless? Okay. Let's see. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I love it. I love it. Here's our Super Chat menu, by the way. All Super Chats get a shout out. $10, we're giving you a Go Birds. $20, an Eagles chant. And let me make a deal with the people. If somebody sends in a $50 Super Chat, Chip and I are singing Fly Eagles Fly. We're going to sing No One Likes Us. And I'll give you a shotgun. If we get to 100 in total, I'll do a beer boot here on the show. We've had more than 5,000 people watch the live show here today. That is absolutely awesome. And you know what's even better? We have 2 more segments to get to. So let's keep it popping. Let's keep it moving here on the show. All right, coming up next, how Jalen Hurts' turnovers are killing the Philadelphia Eagles. Who's ready to get into segment number 3? Type me and continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Yo, what's good? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Thank you so much for rocking and hanging out here with us. Coming up here on the show, how Jalen Hurts' turnovers are killing this Philadelphia Eagles offense. They have so much talent. There are big plays there. We have seen the potential with this unit with all of the star power. Yet, Jalen Hurts' turnovers over the last year plus, 2023 going into 2024, have held this Eagles offensive unit back. And we're going to try to come up with solutions, for how Jalen Hurts can correct these issues and how this Eagles offense can get on track to reach their fullest potential, and how Jalen Hurts can get back to playing elite football, because we've seen him do that before. Let's begin with this. Set the foundation and set the table, as I like to say, for today's show. The good with Jalen Hurts. He's a winner. At Alabama, he won big. At Oklahoma, he won big. With the Philadelphia Eagles, he has won a lot. 36-18 as this team's starting quarterback. Jalen Hurts also has the clutch gene. He has 10 come from behind or game-winning drives in his NFL career. That's what the greats do. He's a dynamic dual-threat quarterback who can slice and dice you through the air with his arm, but also with his legs. I do think that leadership qualities are important as a quarterback. It's part of the reason why I didn't love Caleb Williams going into the NFL draft. He lacks that. But the NFL and football is a game where you have to lead by example. And teams and locker rooms look at the quarterback to do that. And when the quarterback is cool, calm, and collected, when he's never rattled, he's always a flat liner, that has a trickle-down effect to the rest of the team. And Jalen Hurts has so much poise and a lot of leadership qualities. And lastly, as a thrower, the haters will never say this, but the numbers speak volumes. Jalen Hurts really excels with throwing the long ball. He does have some negatives to his game. The bad with Jalen Hurts, he turns it over way too much, and that's really the main subject of today's show. He has struggled historically against the Blitz, although this year he's been much better. Stay tuned for those numbers because they will open your eyes and blow your mind. He doesn't have elite arm talent. He's not Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. You can tell that he really has to get a lot into it. I don't think that over the middle of the field, he layers balls with timing, accuracy, and precision like some other quarterbacks do. So he can definitely struggle with targeting the middle area of the field. And sometimes when the pocket breaks down, or even when he's sensing that the pocket breaks down, he bails to his right a little bit too much. But going back to the good, Hurts this year, while he has turned the football over at an alarming rate, he has the second most total yards in the National Football League with 915. He is only behind Lamar Jackson. But at the same time, and on the same token, he has the most turnovers since the start of last year with 26, but is also 27-8 in his last 35 starts. So really, part of what I'm talking about on today's show, imagine if Jalen Hurts can play cleaner football, right? And if he can play cleaner football, the Eagles in his last 35 starts are already 27-8. So if he's able to correct these issues, the sky is the limit for Philadelphia, and we can have another parade in South Philadelphia, because I do think this Eagles team is capable of reaching the mountaintop. Now, I do want to pop up today's poll question, and this will be the pinned comment on today's Eagles Now. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down and let me know what you're thinking here. Jalen Hurts is type E for elite, G for good, A for average, or B for bad. Sound off with what you think down in the comment section. With these turnovers, Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni know this. They've talked about it. Jalen Hurts is the son of a coach. He is a smart football player. He played at the collegiate level under Nick Saban and Lincoln Riley. Turnovers can't continue. It's losing football. It's not sustainable football, and it doesn't translate to wins. And you know what's crazy? The Eagles have been able to overcome these turnover issues. In the NFL, when you lose a turnover battle over the last several years, you lose about 80% of the time. Yet Philadelphia's still been able to win. That's crazy. But this Hurts turnover problem is a problem. You look at the turnovers year by year, this isn't a good trend here. In 2020, 6 turnovers in 4 games. In 2021, 13 turnovers in 16 games. In 2022, when he was the MVP runner-up, only 9 turnovers in 18 games. That was a big reason why the Eagles were so efficient and so dynamic and unstoppable offensively that year. In 2023, 20 turnovers in 18 games. And this year, it's not going in the right direction. And if you translate those numbers to a full regular season, he already has 5 turnovers in 3 games. So in 59 games, Jalen Hurts has 53 total turnovers, and that's counting interceptions and fumbles. More turnover woes. 7 straight games in which Jalen Hurts has thrown a pick. And over the last 21 games, he has 26 turnovers. So this is an issue that has gotten worse. And my take here, these turnovers are so incredibly maddening because Hurts has so much talent. He has so much ability. We have seen him play at an unbelievable level. And even when he does turn the football over, we have seen Jalen Hurts have so much success in this league as a top 10 quarterback. Next up, another poll question. And I'm curious, who are your favorite YouTubers? And I'm talking sports or non-sports. I take in YouTube a lot. My favorite broadcaster is Colin Cowherd. One of my favorite NFL podcasts on YouTube is John Middlecoff. And then I like some other people, Nick Bear, as far as fitness and others. So drop me some names and I'll add it to my list of people who I have to check out on the YouTube universe. If you want a Real John shirt, get yours today at chatsports.com/RealJohn. If you're a real one and you watch this show religiously, you're subscribed to the channel, type Real One or Real John and get yourself a shirt. Available in Kelly Green as well as black. Chatsports.com/RealJohn. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of today's Eagles. Now, how can Hurts get better? He can get better by protecting the ball, obviously, as we've talked about in further detail on today's show, but also handling the blitz. And you know what's a positive spin on today's show? Jalen Hurts has started to fare better against the blitz. This is an area where he really struggled last year. A lot of it was due to the offensive scheme. But in 2023 against the blitz, 268 dropbacks, he only completed 63% of his passes, yards per attempt 6.9, and his sack rate 6.3%. In 2024, 38 dropbacks against the blitz in 3 games. His completion percentage has gone up by about 10 points to 72.7%. Yards per attempt has increased to 7.2%, and his sack rate has gone down 5.2%. So he's getting rid of the football faster, but with this Kellen Moore offense, he has had more answers against the blitz as well. This week, it is going to be a tall test for Philadelphia. It's going to be hot in Tampa, and it's not really hot or humid in Philadelphia right now, so you have to acclimate to that. And this Todd Bowles defense is really good, and he's going to blitz Jalen Hurts a lot. Hurts has completed just 59% of his passes against Tampa Bay in his career. He has been sacked 8 times with 5 picks, 4 touchdown passes. That is not a good ratio. A 4 to 5 touchdown to interception ratio. And Todd Bowles has blitzed him relentlessly. And I know that teams aren't blitzing Hurts as much because of the offensive firepower that Philadelphia has, but since Philadelphia could be without A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, they're already without Brittany Covey, I don't think that Todd Bowles is going to stop blitzing. He's going to send a lot of pressure toward Hurts, and it's up to him and Kellen Moore to respond, and for Hurts to keep the ball out of the hands of the opposition. Be sure to give me a follow on X, give me a follow on Instagram. I put out a lot of short-form content on the Eagles on my social media pages at Chase_Senior. And as always, thank you so much for supporting us here on Eagles Now. Dennis Designs, a $10 super chat. Go Birds! I think they are trying to keep Barkley healthy at the end of the game. he is frightening. Yeah, at the end of the game, he is frightening, and I do think you have to manage the workload a little bit, but with Saquon, you gave him $26 million guaranteed, $13 million the next 2 years. If you get an MVP candidate and one of the more dynamic running backs in the NFL for the next 2 years, I'm using him a lot. But I do get some of the injury concerns with him. And how about this? Oh! Mike Persia, a $50 Super Chat. So I did say I'd do a shotgun. I'll do that after segment number 4, which is coming up. But we got to do Fly, Eagles, Fly. He wants to hear the duet. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. Fight, Eagles, fight. Score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em low, hit 'em high, and watch our Eagles fly. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! So, I saw a good question. Could they change the game or move the game because of Hurricane Helene? That is a good question. Let's see here. What is the weather going to be in Tampa on Sunday? So a 45% chance of rain on Sunday. The chance of precipitation at game time is less than 20%. The rain total that day, 0.2. So Sunday's low will be 76 degrees between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. The high will be 88 degrees between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. So I think the weather looks pretty good. Obviously, the concern is getting to Tampa. But yeah, it's going to rain a lot today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's going to be sunny on Monday. So hopefully it starts to turn a corner on Sunday. I haven't seen any chatter about that. So hopefully not. And I hate watching games when you don't see two teams evenly matched on the field when it's so rainy. Like, I want to see Philadelphia work on this pass game. But without their wide receivers, if they have to run it a lot, that does help out Philadelphia in this game. All right, we're $30 away from 100 in supers. We have one more segment to get to, and then we'll take down some drinks with the Fly Eagles Fly family.
Who's gonna get us there, baby? Goedert!
Let's go. All right, we're going to do some trade talk now. Coming up next on the show. Segment number 4, can't stop, won't stop. Oh, shoot, I don't know if we can say that anymore. Because that is Diddy. Right? Or no, it's, Diddy was, we ain't going nowhere. Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller Records. That is not Diddy. So we can still say that. No Diddy. No Diddy. But we can't sing, we ain't go in. You get the point. No Diddy. $1,000 of what was it? Or 1,000 bottles of what?
1,000 bottles of baby oil, right?
$1,000 of baby oil on the wall. 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Take one down, rub it around.
Yo. That's what he was doing, man.
Yeah.
At those freak-offs.
That's the freak-offs.
Did you see that Kevin Hart has been lumped into some of these things now?
See, this is not good because we have two Philadelphia legends in Kevin Hart and Meek Mill who are starting to get lumped in to the Diddy controversy. It's not a good look on Philadelphia.
Not good.
I guess now it's Chip and myself who have to be the face of Philadelphia now.
We never hung out with Diddy, I'll tell you that.
Never went to a Diddy party.
Nope.
Never went to a Diddy party. Oh, man. Lai Win said 1,000 bottles oil order from online Costco. Crazy. Nick Cross said, you wild and Chase. See, we like to make people laugh here. We like to make people laugh. Mike Persia said, shitty. It's shitty for Diddy right now. No doubt. Tyrick said, Diddy invited me. I declined. Good job. Good job. Tyrick would have never been the same. Would have never been the same. Ricardo Gonzalez, Fly Eagles Fly from El Paso, Texas. Hello, everyone. What's up, Ricardo? All right, segment number 4. Without further ado, let's round out the show with this. We have another loaded show on the docket for today's Philadelphia Eagles now. And as we look ahead to the NFL trade deadline on November 5th, it has been moved back a week. I just want to give you the latest Eagles trade buzz here with the current construction of this team and take a look at some players who Philadelphia could trade off of their currently existing roster, but also some external options and players who Philadelphia could bring in as far as trade targets go. Before we dive into all of this and explore it, a programming alert. Be sure to join us Sunday, Eagles Buccaneers watch party, NFL Week 4. We will be live beginning with an hour pregame show at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell icon as well. Therefore, anytime we go live, you will be notified. And our watch party is the best place to experience an Eagles game day if you're not actually at the game. We like to make it a family-friendly type of environment where it's almost like we're hanging out in a living room, watching the Eagles together, live play-by-play, audience interaction, instant reactions. We kind of have that being at the bar type of feel where we get crazy, we celebrate the highs, and we deal with the lows. And so far throughout this year, we have done some massive numbers, 300 plus K, nearly 200K, more than 100K, the most viewed Eagles watch parties right here on YouTube. Let's begin with this. Could the Philadelphia Eagles trade Bryce Huff? So the Eagles in free agency and Howie Roseman gave him $34 million in guaranteed money. And so far this year, he is playing less than 50% of the snaps for the Eagles. And that was the same case last year when he played less than 50% of the snaps with the New York Jets. What's alarming? He's actually playing less with Philadelphia after getting that bag than he did last year with New York, when even though he logged less than 50% of the snaps, he still had 10 sacks. And Brandon Graham, who's in the final year of his NFL career, who's been in the league for a decade and a half, outsnapped him last week against New Orleans. And when asked what Bryce Huff needs to do to get on the field more, Vic Fangio said he needs to play better, and we'll continue to sprinkle him in. That's not what you want to hear from a guy who's making $17 million per year, and this is not what you want to see from a player who you made a big investment in and you were counting on to get after the quarterback, sack the quarterback, and give you a stout pass rush. Through 3 games, Bryce Huff, 0 sacks, 0 solo tackles, 0 quarterback hits, 2 pressures. He didn't wear the number 0 because he envisioned his stat line being a fat 0 and goose egg through 3 games. But so far, that's exactly what he's given this Eagles team. And his Pro Football Focus numbers, not much better. Overall grade of 53.2. Run defense grade, always been a weakness for him, 48.6. And his pass rushing grade is 56.8. The thought here in maybe trading him is this. Do you try to get rid of that contract? You might have to pay to get rid of that contract, but do you try to rid yourselves of that contract, no longer deal with the drama, and just get rid of Bryce Huff, eat your losses, and admit that signing him was a failure? My trade idea? Send him back to the New York Jets. Bring us back Hassan Reddick, who still has not reported to the New York Jets and is getting fined for every game that he misses, getting docked his game checks. But because Hassan Reddick is on an expiring deal, and because Bryce Huff has more years on his deal, you might have to attach a 4th-round pick. You still get the 3rd from Hassan Reddick and that trade that you made with New York, but you increase your roster as far as your pass rushing ability goes, and the Eagles bring back Hassan Reddick, and maybe they sign him to that contract extension, and they admit, Bryce Huff was a failure. We should have never let go of Hassan Reddick. Good businesses, they will admit their flaws. Good relationships, you will admit your flaws. Howie Roseman might have to do the same thing. Next trade candidate for Philadelphia. Could the Eagles trade away Devin White? I think it's pretty telling how he was a healthy scratch the last 2 games. And what came to my mind immediately, are the Eagles just trying to keep him healthy so that they can trade him? Because no team wants damaged goods, and if he does get hurt, his trade value plummets. It's the only reason that him being a healthy scratch makes sense. And I get it. Zach Bond has played awesome football. Nakobe Dean has played really well. They're giving this defense an edge and a lift at that linebacker spot. It's probably the best linebacking play that the Eagles have had in quite some time. Zach Bond giving you shades of TJ Edwards, the last best linebacker on this Eagles team. But Devin White, at least as a value piece, at least as a rotational linebacker, a guy who can rush the quarterback and has done that successfully, he's healthy scratch the last 2 games. Clearly, Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean have impressed Vic Fangio, whereas Devin White has not. Now, with Bond, he's tied for the most solo tackles in the NFL. He's been a great story and a bargain deal. And when you have a player like Nakobe Dean, he's giving this team instinctual linebacking play where he can read and diagnose plays before they happen. He can foresee what's going to come. He can plug those run gaps. He's been pretty good making tackles in the pass game, in the flat. He has struggled a little bit in pass coverage. So it's a good sign that Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean are playing so well. It's just mysterious why Devin White is not even seeing the field for this team, and he's not even active on game days. That tells me the Eagles might try to trade him. Where could Huff and White go? A team consistently mentioned is the Las Vegas Raiders. They do have some quality defensive pieces, but the Raiders, as far as pass rushers go, lost Malcolm Koonce for the rest of the year. Knee injury during practice last week. Max Crosby, one of the top edge rushers in the game, he is hurt. So that could be a destination for 1 or 2 of those players in addition to a Bryce Huff trade to the New York Jets. Before we move forward, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Whenever the Eagles make a move, and if they do make a trade, we have you covered. And then anytime there is a report or there's some buzz out there, we'll explore that here on the show. Next up, some Eagles trade targets externally. We threw out Hassan Reddick a little bit earlier. DJ Jones is a pretty good run-stuffing and pass-rushing defensive tackle who's somewhat affordable. He's currently playing for the Denver Broncos. They could be in sell mode. I know they beat the Bucs in Week 3, but they're going to be probably a bottom 10 team this year. Philadelphia could look to upgrade at the depth wide receiver spots because of the injuries to A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Britton Covey. You have Robert Woods and John Mechie there. And then let's talk about Davante Adams here. I know it's out of the realm of possibility, but a lot of Eagles fans have reached out to me. Chase, could the Eagles trade for Davante Adams? Could Howie Roseman pull off a highway robbery? You think about Adams' situation in Las Vegas, and I was talking to one of my great friends, Mitchell Renz, who is the host of the Raiders Report here at Chat Sports. He thinks that Davante Adams and his time with the Raiders is coming to an end. Davante Adams has taken to Instagram, and he's made some subtlety type of comments that he could be going somewhere at some point. The Raiders right now are a hot pile of garbage, and it was the most Raiders thing that in Week 2, they go on the road, and they take down one of the top teams in the AFC in the Baltimore Ravens, and then the Raiders come back home against Andy Dalton and the Carolina Panthers, the worst team in football, and they get shellacked. Adams last year was miserable. This year, he's miserable. And if the Raiders keep losing, will he get dealt? I don't think the Raiders want to do him any favors and trade him to a team like the New York Jets, because that would also be in conference. Could they trade him out of conference to Philadelphia? We know that Howie Roseman is very aggressive. I don't really see this happening. Now, through 3 games, Davante Adams, some pretty good numbers with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, but that offense isn't good. Luke Getsy is a joke of an offensive coordinator. He did nothing with Chicago. Justin Fields played poorly under him. Now Justin Fields is 3-0 under Arthur Smith as the OC with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's an indictment on Luke Getsy. And then he gets hired by Las Vegas. It never made any sense. So I think the Eagles have traded for their wide receiver to answer a lot of the DMs and the messages that I have received from Eagles fans. And I don't think they're going to go out and trade for Davante Adams, but something that I wanted to hit on and address here on the show. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I put out, obviously, long-form content every single day here on Eagles Now, but I also put out some short-form content covering the Birds on my social media pages. All right, a super chat from the real one, Lion Fighter. It's been a little while. I love the crew at Chat Sports. No Diddy. I love it. LFX is always bringing the jokes here in the chat. We're up to $75 in supers. I did say if I got a $50 super chat, I would shotgun. So I'm going to message somebody to get me that. We'll do that, and then we'll hop on out of here.
You touched on it, Chase, talking about Davante Adams and the Eagles trading for their wide receiver already. I want to see Jahan Dotson do something,
Me too.
Because I think he's so talented.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do. And he has a chance this week if he's wide receiver one. But even when the other guys are back, I feel like he can be so much better than what he's been.
No doubt, no doubt. And, it's hard because I said this going into the year. He really is weapon 5 on the offense when the offense is at its best. And Dallas Goedert needs to be involved more. So if we're asking for Dallas Goedert to be involved more, you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. But then option number 4, and it's not even option number 4, but it's weapon 4, or at least these are a grouping of weapons. You have Saquon Barkley. So regardless of what the pecking order is, Jahan Dotson is 5th. But he was a first-round pick. My previous job, I covered him at Penn State. He was a dynamic player. I think he's capable of putting up really good numbers. But on this Eagles team, he's kind of hidden. But in this game against Tampa Bay, he's going to have to produce. He's going to have to be better because he might be wide receiver 1. Thank you, brother. Reed bringing in the happy dad. His dad, a big fan of the show. Thank you, Mr. Barkus, for watching the show. Dad, happy dad. All right. Shotty for Mike Persia. A shotty for Mike Persia. Dad, no Diddy.
No Diddy on the happy dad. Chug, 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 chug. Yes, sir.
That is cold.
Man.
Oh.
We got Commanders fans in here. We got Cowboys fans in here. What is going on?
That is cold. Hey, I love when the NFC East rivals are beefing.
Andrew Nathan wants to trade for Trayvon Walker.
Ooh, okay. Of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
How's he been this year? Because I know he's been awful before this year.
I mean, it never made sense to take him over Aiden Hutchinson.
I'm curious. I'm going to look at his PFF
who had 5
numbers.
sacks in a game 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so dumb.
Aiden Hutchinson was always the pick. But, of course, the Jags are like, we love his athleticism. How about production? That's what I worry about.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, not any better this year.
MG said Commanders 14-3 win the division. You think that they're losing 2 games the rest of the way? Cap. All right, we're going to sign off here on Eagles Now. Great show today. Great audience. Let's see. At one point, we had more than 600 people watching. That's incredible. Almost 7,000 people hanging out throughout the day. Some great content, and we got to chop it up and hang out together as the Bird Gang. So we will be back on Sunday for our watch party, Eagles Bucs. For Chip, I'm Chase. For all of the legends, the real ones, we love you. We couldn't do this show without you, and we'll catch you Sunday. See ya!